Hey, good to see you. Thanks for coming. This is another episode of Wireframe, brought to you by Design Systems House. I'm your host, Donnie D'Amato, and today we're going to be talking about model behavior. But first, I'm back. Yes, it's been a couple of weeks since the last episode that I did, which was just before the surgery that I had to go on. So the surgery was basically successful, I'll say. Still some follow-ups to do, but I survived, so that's an important thing. Yeah, some recovery that happened in there. In fact, just to give you a little of a personal, I guess, detail in that is that I had a similar surgery last year where the recovery was awful. And it was like basically 4 days of like just utter, difficulty. This time was a lot better. The recovery was a lot faster. I felt a lot better immediately after the surgery. So all of that was really great. I was actually kind of expecting the worst again because of, the experience I had before. But like I said, it went out really great. And then, of course, since then, there's been recovery. There's also been some events that I've been to in New York, which I'm going to talk about. One of the ones that is actually moved me enough to make this particular episode today, and moved me in another way as well. And we'll talk about that. But in terms of events, other things that are coming up that I think you should know about is. I performed Creativity Within Constraints, which was the talk that I did in October last year at Converge. I performed that again for UX Days 2026 for the University of Illinois remotely. So it was last Friday where we had. I think there was 120 people at that conference out there. I would have loved to honestly have been there in person, but between scheduling for some personal things as well as the location being about 2 hours out of the of Chicago, it made it a little bit difficult for me to make that happen. So I ended up doing it remotely, but I think it went well. Definitely a little bit more summarized than what I did in October in Converge because it was just a virtual situation, but got some a good question that actually came out of that. Unfortunately, there was like this wrap-up party that was happening directly after my thing, so there's a lot of people that were just like itching to go to that networking event, so didn't get a lot of additional collaboration there, but there was a good post on LinkedIn that I saw recently that was called me out as well as a couple of other speakers about learning some takeaways, so that was good. In terms of other events that are coming up that you should know about, I will be at an event at BrainStation in New York City on Wednesday, tomorrow, for Agentic UX for Writing, I believe. It's the Content Designers of New York meetup that I did speak at, I think, last year, the year before, probably actually a while now. Really great meetup for content designers, and I think it's very important for the work that we're doing today in AI, which will also dovetail into what I want to talk about today. But additionally, a couple of other things that are going to be happening really soon is there is a meetup here in Long Island for Long Island technologists on May 7th. I will be speaking with friend of the show, Mike Rispoli, about agentic AI design and engineering. Not exactly sure the specifics of what we're going to be presenting yet. I still have to coordinate with Mike, but I'll be presenting with him that day. On the same day in New York City, there is another design engineering meetup that will be happening at Datadog. So I spoke at Datadog, I think back in February, for the design engineering meetup. There will be another one on May 7th. I, of course, will not be there because I have now a conflict. But if you're in New York City, absolutely go. Is being coordinated by a close friend, Natalia Shelburne, as well as the other folks. I think Doug, is also coordinating with that as well, Doug DeMarco. So yeah, that'll be a great time in the event that you're in New York City and unable to come to Long Island. Totally reasonable, completely understand. And then another thing that I'll be involved in the following week is UXDX. UXDX is back in New York City again this year. I will be on a debate panel with Alex Wilson, who is a design manager at T. Rowe Price. And we're going to be talking about the future of design systems just as a general thing. Hopefully, a few hot takes, a few disagreements, actually, in the preparation for this that it will be really interesting to kind of dive into. I was talking with the organizers, hoping to have that as a recording for a podcast that I can potentially provide to you folks over Wireframe or some other Design Systems House media. So looking forward to that. Speaking of Wireframe, I have 2 interviews scheduled for next week, for Tuesday and Thursday next week. I'm going to try to be better about, announcing when these things are happening. It's something that I just need to get over, which I talked about in the interview that I had with Jason a couple weeks ago. But I'll let you know right now, on Tuesday next week, I'm going to be speaking with Frank Stallone, who is one of the trusted readers for Mise en Mode. So Mise en Mode, you'll see on the back if you have the book. He was one of the people who helped me out in providing feedback for the book because he was attempting to implement Mise en Mode in his organization. So we had a lot of back and forth, and I thought it would be really great because he's really, involved in trying to make this thing a reality, to have him look at the book. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that next week, about how he implemented Mise en Mode. And in fact, he also mentioned he implemented it with Tailwind, which I'm very interested to know what that looked like. And then on Thursday, very exciting to talk to Kalig, which I will not pronounce his last name because it's a little bit challenging for me. It's long and French. Nothing against the French, but I've always had difficulty trying to pronounce his last name. But Kalig is a chair of the Design Tokens Community Group. And has also worked for large companies in a principal level capacity for places like Shopify, Netlify, I think also Salesforce potentially. I might be wrong there, but very involved in the design systems community, and has recently announced that he'll be leaving his position. It was at Netlify, yeah, and wants to share some findings that he did. He gave me some tidbits of it already, and it is fascinating what he has done. That's all I'm going to leave it at, because I want you to definitely watch for Thursday as well about this conversation, because I think it's really showing what we're going to be doing in the future with AI. So those 2 things next week, absolutely happening. There's other events. I think there's another thing I'm doing next Wednesday as well. There's lots of going on. Speaking of things that are going on, I wanted to actually have a show on Friday because Claude Design was announced on Friday. I did try it out practically immediately to see if it could, kind of meet my expectations about, the hype that Claude Design could be. The long story short there, that I haven't really told anyone, but I'm going to tell you now, is, kind of underwhelming. Especially with the limits that we have with Claude these days. It just doesn't really get there yet, in my opinion. So there'll potentially be another show that we talk about that, but for right now, again, my knee-jerk reaction is not really great. Okay, let's get to the actual topic, which is model behavior. Okay, now, what I want to talk about with model behavior, I first have to preface before we, start getting into what this actually means, is I was in a meetup last week with my wife. We went to a designer friends, I think it's called. It's there's a person who puts together community events for designers. His name is Hang. I've probably spoken on the show about him a couple of times, and he put together actually 2 of these events to highlight some work that's being done when it comes to design and AI. And it wasn't the typical kind of discourse that we've been seeing in social media these days, where, you prompt something and you get some design. This was not this content. And I came in very open-minded about what this was because I like supporting Hang just in general, but I also was very interested to see what this content was going to be about. And effectively, the two folks that were on this panel were describing this new role in design that they've had at Google previously, but is now emerging. And one of the people on this panel, named Paz Perez, she is credited with coining the role name of model designer. Now, let's ask AI what a model designer is. So let me just go ahead and we have our AI that I haven't spoken to in quite some time. So we're going to see if they know what I'm talking about when I say model designer. Oop. I got to hit the right button. Here we go. I got to hit a whole bunch of buttons because I haven't talked to AI in a long time. Hey, I think you're hearing me. Okay, well, let's try. So, are you familiar with the term model designer? And I am speaking. Let's see. No. I'm going to try again. Hold on a minute. Everyone hold. I'm going to try again. I reached my daily limit. Okay. I guess somehow I reached my daily limit talking to AI. I don't know how that happened. Whatever. All right. Well, next time, I suppose. So model designer, this idea is effectively when you are speaking with a chatbot or AI agent and that kind of interface, this experience, when the model is responding to you, they are responding as a part of the experience, right? Again, imagine like you clicking a button and having something happen when you click that button, right? There's an experience that's happening there, an interaction that's happening there, an interface that's happening there, right? Between you and the system, right? So someone traditionally has curated that experience, has designed that experience where they are deciding where the button goes, what color the button is, all of those kinds of things to compose this one interface. Well, knowing that when we're now interfacing with AI through this chat experience, someone could be involved and is now involved in designing how the agent is interacting with that user, right? So it's no longer necessarily talking about, where the button goes. It's now talking about parts like voice and tone and trust and safety and those kinds of elements that will be incorporated into the responses that AI is going and bringing back to the user for them to achieve their goals. This is user experience, right? It is another facet of user experience that is new and aligned to us using AI, or I should just say users generally using AI in their daily work, in their daily lives, right? I mean, I spoke with my mother yesterday for her birthday, actually, we visited the house. And, she's using AI for her, some of her tasks using ChatGPT. And of course, it's responding, to her in those requests. And she, of course, is continuing to use it because it is helping her achieve her goals and it is doing it in such a way that is meeting her expectations. This is all user experience. So the role of a model designer, as I understand it, is really taking the UX practices that many UX professionals have taken, and instead of doing it as a visual treatment, these folks are doing it as a content focused treatment, so to speak, right? And it's hard to say content in here, but it's really this conversational UX that's really happening here, right? So I, in this panel, was absolutely mesmerized. I have never been so inspired by a change in the industry as much as I was in this panel. right? Because here's the thing. For the past few months, and maybe even the past year or so, my wife and I would talk about the current state of affairs when it came to design and AI, right? We're seeing a lot of the sensationalism about, design is dead or Figma is dead, because of this new tool, that new tool, all that kind of stuff that we're seeing out there. And it's kind of like, well, what's going to be happening with our jobs? Are we going to be able to find a job? What does this all mean? Are we going to, start learning how to do lock picking and stuff just because there'll be no more tech jobs because they're all, being outsourced to AI? Like, really, worst case scenario stuff that we're all kind of communicating. And I always think about telephone operators as an analog to this, because telephone operator used to be a job that was very important until it wasn't, until technology kind of took over and made those jobs obsolete. I think someone else was talking about the street sweepers union trying to rally against motor vehicles because they were in charge of sweeping up horse poop for horse and carriages, right? So that job no longer existed because there's no more shit in the streets, right? So it's interesting about how, of course, jobs will change over time based on the improvements of technology and things of that nature. And it's scary to have these kinds of changes when all you've known is that role that you have now been successful in, right? So I'm looking at the role that I have now, and I'm saying to myself, wow, I've been successful in this role for, several years now. Who would want that to change? Change is scary. You got to learn a whole new thing over the nearly, over 25 years that I've been doing web design and development. This is effectively getting rid of all that experience in some way that is kind of requiring me to do something different. And, it's scary, I think, specifically thinking about this as a new role for design for the traditional graphic designer, right? That traditional graphic designer that would do Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, very visually centric, not so much user centric. That's scary for those folks because now people are prompting to get this stuff, right? They're prompting to get logos and comic strips and all this stuff that otherwise would have been, paid for, just good enough. So I can understand why that stuff could be scary for some folks. But for user experience design, right? User centric design, the users aren't going away. And that's the key. And I, again, think about how I got into what I do today. How I got into what I do today was less about the craft of art. I tell people that I used to be an interactive sculptor, which is very much true. But it wasn't about the art necessarily for me fundamentally, looking back on it. It was about the experience, the ability for a person to walk around the piece, touch the piece, have the piece react to that touch, and have the user have feedback about what they just did for the piece, right? That's user experience. In the form of art, certainly, but that's user experience. And I'm grateful to see a role come up from there over the years as a focus for me. And I also really aligned with having a consistent user experience. That's what design systems really promote. But again, in a world where the main interface that a user is working with is tending toward this conversational user experience where there's not a lot of graphic design behind it, well, that just means that, to me, that I need to pivot and look toward how I can use my expertise and knowledge in user experience that I've gained over the number of years that I've been doing this, and now situate myself into model behavior design, which is effectively what I'm now going to be focusing on. Okay, so you've heard it here first, folks. I am now going to do a shift from the traditional design system stuff that we all kind of know that I've been doing for a long time and has traditionally been done for the industry for a long time. I am now shifting to how I could become a model designer. Or actually, the term that a lot of these AI companies are using is model behavior architect. So, OpenAI had a role called model behavior architect. Anthropic has a role or had a role called model behavior architect. And other AI companies are also having these roles called model behavior architects, which is, as far as I could tell, similar or the same to this role of model designer that Paz coined. Speaking of Paz, by the way, Paz has had a couple of posts about her experience and role in this stuff. I want to bring that up here. So this is Paz Perez and her Medium page, and she has a couple of posts which are again are excellent. And just a little bit of a note on Paz. She just recently spoke at the Information Architecture conference in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, one of the two, somewhere in Pennsylvania, just this past weekend. That's why she was here locally. Normally she's in Europe, but she does visit the States every once in a while, from what I understand. But she just wrote a few articles here, and they're not too long either. If you want, and there's only a few here. The first English one is this one here, March 2 years ago, about designers and how AI needs context. But one of the things that I found immediately was this new UX toolkit, which is data, context, and evals. She actually mentioned these three ideas in the panel, which I was like, oh, I've never heard of this set of ideas, especially evals in particular, which dovetails into some of the work that I'm now doing in my day job. But this is this is the thing that I got caught on with her her Medium. And then now this, of course, the more recent one that she wrote earlier this year, The Rise of Model Designer, which again is the coined term for this particular role, right? So I have spoken to Paz recently about this stuff, just wanting to jive on the role and what she's doing and all that kind of stuff. And the really nice thing is, after speaking with her at the panel, she's just a super nerd about this stuff. So I'm hoping to get Paz on the show to nerd about this stuff. She just landed from the conference just a day or so ago. So I'm expecting that she's like trying to get more comfortable back at home again. But I will absolutely try to get her on the show to talk about this stuff, because I think it again is a very important direction, getting ahead of the curve about how AI is changing and shaping what the industry may be doing very, very soon, and where the jobs are going to be, right? This is not to say that UI is completely dead, but I think, again, seeing how we're interfacing with stuff through a chat, experience is significant, right? I mean, you could see how industries are being pushed to do more chat interfaces. Like, everything has a chat interface now, and these teams that are involved with making these interfaces, this is the wild, wild west of trying to figure out how to do this. It reminds me of Web 1 and us trying to figure out what that even meant, and Web 2, what even that meant. Let's not talk about Web 3, but that's what we're seeing in here, right? So what I've been doing personally is, just this past weekend, I got some certifications on AI and ethics. So I went to Coursera, found a couple of AI ethics things just to get my feet wet about things that I need to pay attention to in this space. But what I'm really interested in is the daily work, right? And what does that entail? What sort of expertise, past user experience, will we need to have as user experience designers, specifically for model behavior design, to affect the models, to affect the experience for our users? That right now is uncharted territory for me. And I would love to dive into that and, admittedly, become an expert in it. And I think that's where many of us as user experience professionals should consider going to, especially us design system practitioners, especially, right? Especially because what we're seeing here again, and I've talked to lots of different teams now about the problems that we're seeing when this was wild west of new experiences, is that the design system teams can't meet the needs of these teams moving fast, right? It was bad enough before AI, where some new feature would come out and they're trying to iterate and it wouldn't meet the design system, and you would have to do this tug of war. But now it's so much of these new patterns coming out about design and chat interfaces, conversational UX. The design system teams are struggling to keep up with the velocity of the feature teams that are trying to figure this whole thing out, and there's a separation happening. So I now believe, and have believed for a few, maybe the last year or so, about this kind of unfederated model, where it's just basically like put all this stuff in and show it transparently through the whole system, which is very uncomfortable for what we've been doing for a long time. But that's how a system, I believe, develops organically. And in fact, this is something that we're going to be discussing or debating at UXDX in particular. But if that happens organically, where the system kind of is derived by the work that we do, as a reflection of the work that we do, that kind of makes our job reduced in some way. Where now, instead of us building components, we're really trying to develop the guidelines in which a component should be built. And if you think about it, in the world that we live in today, those guidelines are now just skills. It's just documents for our AI agents to read from. So we need to find where the new impact is. And I really believe, again, after this inspiring talk, that the impact is with model behavior design. So, yeah, that's the news for me. A couple of other pieces of news, of course. Before I talk about news, let me know what you think about this. I think, again, this is huge and big about making this change. But I think seeing what the industry is doing, change is important, and change is the only constant, as people say. So, but let me know what you think about it. Absolutely, take a look in the Discord, and which we had a couple of people join, discord.ds.house. I haven't posted a lot in there recently. I have to get back on that stuff because I've been, again, very busy. So if you have some thoughts about what this is all about, definitely raise them. I want to put some resources in there, hopefully soon, about what I'm doing, to see if we can get some discourse about it. I think that would be really great. But join the Discord, and I hope to start that conversation really soon, unless somebody else does first. But anyway, I was going to say about other news. Buy the book, right? I got to go ahead and I mentioned the book earlier, but of course, buy the book. Has some really great feedback about the book between digital copies and things like that. At this moment, right now, there are the hardcover versions, which is like this one here, available not just at Amazon but other booksellers. So you should be able to get a copy by going to mo.place and finding in the FAQs, there's a link that shows where else to get the book. And then the digital copy is available as well. That digital copy, unfortunately, from the link that I provided down there, is only available through Amazon. I have heard some feedback about that, and now the digital copy is also available on Google Play Books. So you could find Ms. on Mode as a digital download on Google Play Books. The other thing that you should know as well is that I've had a couple people reach out about getting digital copy, and they were asking, could I have the digital copy if I buy the physical? The answer is yes, with a caveat. The caveat is, if you want to do that, where you buy the physical copy and you get the digital, all I ask is that you post a photo of you with the physical copy on social media, and let me know about it. Tag me in it, whatever you like. And when you do that, I can't help but send you the digital copy of the book. for that. So just again to get the word out for the folks who have done that. So if you've done that already, just ping me about it, about getting a digital copy. I will absolutely send it to you. So again, and I thank everyone who's purchased the copy. I really do appreciate it. It's just incredible feeling knowing that all this work that I put into this to this book, and the people who are supporting the work that I did. I never really consider, you know, I guess compensation for these personal projects and things that I'm passionate about. But it really makes me feel great about people who are supporting my work. Speaking about supporting my work and events from earlier, you might know that Undefined is an event that I'm planning that I'm happy to also report that there are dates for. I'm not announcing the dates specifically yet, but I will let you know that the first date for the first event will be in late June. I'm not going to announce exactly when that is yet, but it'll be late June this year. Basically, mostly because the event venue, which is Brain Station, is very, very popular. So I've actually already locked in 3 dates with them. So there will be at least 3 undefined events scheduled for this year, potentially more, depending on the success there. But looking forward to that. I expect to have a proper announcement next month, probably around, in fact, somewhere around UXDX, so mid-May. So look out for that. If you don't, well, you can go to undefined.ds.house right now for the website, and I'll put it up here real quick, and go to the event calendar, and you can subscribe to the Luma calendar. Once you subscribe to the Luma calendar, you will get notified the first event that gets posted in there. Okay, so that's excuse me, at undefined.ds.house, right? So yeah, if you're interested in that, that would be great. If you subscribe, that really helps me get some interest about the event. But I'm really excited to do this thing. And if you don't know about Undefined, you can read the website. But once I actually put the event details together, I'll make a proper announcement, and it'll explain hopefully everything. As news for folks. Okay, that's been a lot, right? It's been a couple of weeks, so I had a lot to talk about. There's a lot more I could be talking about, but I think we'll end it there for today. But that's our show. Thank you so much for watching. Before you go, please help out the show by liking and subscribing to the show. It really does help us out by doing so, and it'll let you know the next time that we go live. And feel free to continue this conversation on the official Design Systems House Discord by visiting discord.ds.house right there on the bottom. Play nice in those comments, and I'll see you on the internet. Bye.